Good morning. Are you guys ready? Yeah. All right. It's been a great week. Of course, we had Women's Day. Once again, thanks to everybody who put so much effort and energy into it. All the women, all the guys. I guess we had 97 women there in attendance. But 18 women paid and didn't come. Go figure. So that's, and I heard the testimonies were amazing. I heard there was a lot of feedback from that. Of course, the men weren't there. They weren't there to listen to the testimonies. And see, my job was to keep the men in line in the back. Because you get these guys together and, you gotta stop them from wrestling and crazy stuff like that. So, yes. Thank you to Nicole and Lauren and Candace for the testimonies that you gave. Great lesson from Emma to inspire the women. That was awesome. Taylor Burns. You guys can say you know her. Yesterday and today, so that's awesome. And the GNN, that was amazing, right? To see all that the church has done. Last year we had 28 church plantings. This year we're shooting for 30. And you can just see this thing moving along in a powerful way. It's exciting to be part of a worldwide movement. And, just to understand that, it's one by one, little by little, creates this incredible force. And so I'm excited today. Hopefully you are. We have Emma Causey in the house, so that's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna move forward here. Now, whenever we have the GNN, all right, I have to shorten my sermon. Yeah, I know. If you notice one thing in the GNN, Johnny's mom was in there. Yeah, she's doing the planting Argentina, right? Yeah. So that's awesome. He's way back there. Okay. All right, so this last week, I had a Zoom meeting. John Causey had a Zoom meeting with all the overseeing evangelists, and he did a lesson. It was awesome, amazing. And he had this one scripture that he read, and he shared about 2 lines. I thought, this is an amazing scripture. And I read through the whole chapter. I said, there's my sermon. I'm very fired up about this, a little different than what I usually do. Go to Isaiah chapter 35. Come on, Dad. Isaiah chapter 35. And the title of the lesson is Everlasting Joy. Imagine having that everlasting. Doesn't stop. That's what I want. Now, there's so many things in life that can rob us of our joy. And, you think about all the challenges of life, whether it's financial, whether it's a relational, illness, all sorts of things. And then you got wars going on in Ukraine, and there's a lot of pain and suffering. And so no wonder there's a depression that people go through. Anxiety, anger, frustration. Yeah. It's hard to think about having everlasting joy. And yet that's what God calls us to have. Look in chapter 35, verse 1. It's a little bit of a long read. The desert and the parched land will be glad. The wilderness will rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it will burst into bloom. It will rejoice greatly and shout for joy. The glory of Lebanon will be given to it, the splendor of Carmel and Sharon. They will see the glory of the Lord, the splendor of our God. Strengthen the feeble hands. Steady the knees that give way. I can relate with that. Say to those with fearful hearts, be strong. Do not fear. Your God will come. He will come with vengeance. With divine retribution, he will come to save you. Then will the eyes of the blind be opened? And the ears of the deaf unstopped. Then will the lame leap like a deer, and the mute tongue shout for joy. Water will gush forth in the wilderness and streams in the desert. The burning sand will become a pool, the thirsty ground bubbling springs. In the haunts where the jackals once lay, grass and reeds and papyrus will grow. And a highway will be there. You will be called the way of holiness. The unclean will not journey on it. It will be for those who walk in that way. Wicked fools will not go about on it. No lion will be there, nor will any ferocious beast get up on it. They will not be found there. But only the redeemed will walk there. And the ransomed of the Lord will return. They will enter Zion with singing. Everlasting joy will crown their heads. Gladness and joy will overtake them. And sorrow and sighing will flee away. Wow, what an amazing passage. Very uplifting, very powerful. A very powerful passage of hope. You know, you look at the book of Isaiah, if you study it out, it's got a lot of passages of destruction and damage, prophecies of these things happening to the Jewish nation, anybody who doesn't follow God, and many prophecies of Jesus with frightening accuracy. It's a powerful book, and then in this, you have this passage that kind of stands out. In chapter 34, if you back up, chapter 34, verse 1, it says, "Come near, you nations, and listen. Pay attention, you peoples. Let the earth hear and all that is in it, the world and all that comes out of it. The Lord is angry with all nations. His wrath is upon all their armies. He will totally destroy them and will give them over to slaughter." Wow. And God says, I'm kind of ticked off at the nations. There's a lot of evil out there. And it's true for today. Is there any nation in the world where you can point to and say, oh, that's totally pure, totally holy, it's a great place to live, and it's not like that. It's not like that. And God says, listen, I'm kind of ticked off at the way that society has evolved. But for the redeemed, there's a whole different world. A lot of injustice out there, and God sees it. He sees the corruption of all nations. You ever gotten ripped off? Yes. Isn't that fun? No. Yeah, it ticks you off. I remember one time. Yeah, Barb and I, something was going wrong with our car. And we went in. I got many stories of this. Anyways, I went in, it was running bad, and I dropped it off. They called me, it's your electrical system. You got to replace all of the wiring. That cannot be good. That's got to be expensive. So I was in a hurry, ran in, had them do it, paid for it, left, and it was still running bad. Like, man. But I was too busy. I couldn't bring it back right away. Finally, I brought it back. And they called me and they said, hey, your electrical system is messed up. You need all new electrical wire. And I said, I just had that changed. He said, you got ripped off. And I said, you're the one who did it. Let me talk to my manager, that kind of thing. It's no fun getting ripped off. And we feel like things in life should be fair. Is there anywhere that it says that it should be fair in life? You know, maybe the book of Shane, you know. Fair. It's just not in there. Was it fair for Jesus to die on the cross? But that's the world we live in. There's no getting around it. And so we got to live with it, but we still have to have joy. How does that happen? God says, listen, don't worry about it. I'm involved here. I'm for you. And he says the redeemed there will be an everlasting joy. And he says they'll have a crown on their heads. Point number 1, crown of joy. And he's saying that joy is not just something you are, it's something you wear. The people see it, they feel it in you. Man, that guy's just happy all the time. And he says it's like you're wearing a crown. All right? The crown is for sovereignty. You're important. And back in the day, they used to have wreaths, crowns for like Olympians, and it was a sign of victory. And God says, you'll be wearing that crown. People will feel it and see it in your life. That's what I want. I looked it up. It says an exalting or chief attribute. And it says it's the joy is for the redeemed. What does that mean? It means that you're brought back into a relationship with God. That you went off and you did crazy bad things, and now you were brought back. But you were purchased. Come on, Jay. You were purchased to be brought back. Ransomed. We're released through prison, captivity, but somebody else paid the price, right? Any of you been rescued from captivity? Yeah, that's, hey. And God says, listen, I want to free you up. Now, if you've been rescued, what should your life be like? If you've been freed from captivity, there should be this incredible joy. But what happens is we go back to captivity again. What are you doing? I just freed you up. Did you ever see that video where the sheep is caught in a rut? Yeah. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's in a rut, and they're trying hard to get it out of there. And they get it out, and it leaps, and it's like fired up, and then it falls right back in. It's like, how dumb are they? That's us. Dumb. Boom. Right back in. And God's like, okay, all right, this is what I'm working with. God says, I'm angry with the nations, but ready to bless the redeemed. For those who have come back to me. Question is, does that define your heart? Are you full of joy? It's easy to tell. Just look in the eyes. Where's your crown? For everybody to see. It says, gladness and joy will overtake them. It'll overtake them. In other words, you can't help it. Oh, what happened to me? I don't know. I'm just fired up. I'm excited. It says it'll overtake you. Did you ever see those movies where they're running and there's this cloud coming and it overtakes them? Well, that's God, only it's with joy. And sometimes we're running away from God, and God's like, I want to give you joy. What's your problem? What are you trying to do? Well, why? Because we found a huge treasure in God and in His family. Do you view the church as a treasure? A lot of people come into the church, they're fired up. They're excited. All right? And then Satan attacks and all that. And you try to help them, or maybe you have a D time or whatever, and then they don't see it as a treasure anymore. They begin to see it as a burden. Is your relationship with God become a burden? No. God's like, hey, you know what? It's not my fault. You're that sheep that keeps jumping in.
Come on, Jay. Come on, bro.
In chapter 35, verse 1, it says, the desert and the parched land will be glad. Can you imagine the desert just being glad? Wilderness will rejoice. It says the crocus will burst into bloom. Crocus is a purple plant. And it says, that they will rejoice and shout for joy. Now, wouldn't that be weird? You're walking along and all these flowers are screaming joyful things. That. Didn't Jesus say that about the rocks?
Yeah.
Hey, the rocks will shout. And this is God's heart. He wants to fire us up all the time.
Yeah.
In our lives, we're deserts. Dry. Dead. No fruit.
Yeah.
And then God breathed life into us.
Yeah. Facts.
But have you lost His Spirit? Verse 5, it says, the eyes of the blind will see. I remember before I was a non-Christian, just not getting things. I felt like I was oblivious. You go to a movie, and everybody's, that was an awesome movie, this and that, and they're talking, I'm like, what? I didn't get that. Most of the stuff just went right over my head. I'm in a conversation. I'm not getting it. Somebody says something, they start crying. What happened there? Oblivious. And that's what Jesus said about the Pharisees. They're blind. He's called them blind Pharisees. Why? Because spiritually they were out to lunch. And that was us. How can you tell? Joy.
Yeah.
When you get it, the light goes on, bing, right? Baby. You get fired up about these insights that you get. You read the scriptures, and like I've read this before, and I'm like, I never got that much out of it. And it's just getting in tune with being spiritual. Being out of touch. In verse 6 it says, the lame will leap like a deer. Wow, that's pretty wild. Not just lame start walking, they leap like a deer. Boom, boom, boom. Whoa. Just imagine being in the hospital and seeing that happen. The mute tongue will shout for joy. Not just start talking, shouting. It's like, extremes. We serve a God of extremes.
Yeah.
Miracles. The lame leap. The mute shout. Water gushes in wilderness. Streams in the desert. You don't often see streams in a desert. You don't see gushing water in a desert. Verse 7, it says, the burning sand will be like a pool.
Wow.
I don't know if you've ever walked on sand that's hot. It's like a pool down. You guys like putting your feet in water? That's what he says it's like. Thirsty ground bubbling. Ever been thirsty? Really thirsty? Bubbling. God brings things to life. And we are to have that life in us. Are you going to wear the crown of joy? If you're a disciple, this should be you. God says, hey, you're a victor. You have a crown. You have a victorious lifestyle. I don't care if you're a struggling disciple. You're still here. You're fighting through. And that means God is with you. He's feeling like He wants you to do well. He wants you to see the victory in your life. And you deserve a crown. How many people you study the Bible with say, no, I don't want it. I'm out of here. But you're here now. And that makes you awesome. Point number 2. Highway of holiness. Highway of holiness. Now, when I was in about 2nd grade, when I was in 2nd grade, now I lived in northern Wisconsin, and my parents said, we're going to go visit our aunt who lives in Milwaukee. Now, I'd never been to the big city. Never been there. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. I was fired up. And we took a train. Back then they had passenger trains. And we were in this one car, and it was all glass. So you could ride, and you could see all the country. It was phenomenal. As a kid, my brothers and I have 3 brothers. And we got to Milwaukee, and it's the first time I saw a freeway. I was like, whoa! People are flying by. Wow, look at this! Hey, the streets up in north Wisconsin, it's just 2 lanes. And in the winter, it's 1. And then you got to be afraid of hitting deer. Okay? So this was like, you could just fly through this thing. And then I saw my first escalator. I was like, Elf? Did you ever see that at Elf? And my brothers and I were all, we're playing on the escalator. People are like, okay, a bunch of kids. But you imagine the joy of all the newness. God's like, that's what I want. You're on a highway. You can fly. A highway is not a path in the woods. You're not stumbling over rocks and branches and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, a number of years ago, Barb and I went to school in Malaysia, right? And a group of us shouldn't have done this. Went against the teacher. And I was considered the ringleader. But we took off to spend time in the jungle. I mean, how do you not go to the jungle if you're in Malaysia? And so we were there for 10 days. And this is a real jungle, you know, you have elephants and rhinos and snakes and all sorts of crazy stuff. But, you know, you start off and you got the map and you know, you start off and here's the trail through and you got to get over here. And they had these things that are called hides, all right? And they were made by people who would write books and stuff, and they're up in the trees. And it was in front of like a natural salt lake or something. The animals would come in at night. And so we'd be sleeping there, and you'd wake each other. Somebody'd be watching, and they'd see an animal come in, they'd wake everybody else up. I literally got bit by a jungle rat there. It was by my head. I didn't know it was just like that. Now, the rats are clean there. They don't chew on garbage. But anyways, you start going into the woods, and at first it's kind of like, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden it goes, and it's like, where'd it go? And God's saying, that's not what I'm calling you to.
Yeah.
I'm calling you to a highway.
Yeah.
A highway. Wow. And there's not all this danger there, like in the jungle. I remember one time Barb put her hand up here and there was a snake right there. Yeah. All sorts of stories. We could go on and on and on. But he says the unclean will not be there. It's a safe place. He says only the redeemed will walk there. They'll walk there, the redeemed. Now Jesus says to follow me. And I'm just going to read you in 1 John chapter 2, real quick. 1 John chapter 2, verse 3.
Come on, Jay.
Verse 3, he says, we know that we've come to know him if we obey his commands. A man who says, I know him, but does not do what he commands is a liar. The truth is not in him. But if anyone obeys his word, God's love is truly made complete in him. This is how we know we are in him. Whoever claims to live in him must walk as Jesus did. You can claim Christianity all you want, but Jesus is saying, hey, it's not an option. And he's saying, and it's a highway. The question is, are you going my way? Are you going my way? Now, it's interesting to me. There's a number of people that in the past month I've studied the Bible with, and they're like, I want to join the church. It's an awesome church. It's an amazing church. And I'm like, great. Let's study this and that. And they want to get baptized and all that. And then you start getting into the walk. And all of a sudden, it's not so great. He says the unclean will not journey on. And so, you know, I'll say, hey, how many quiet times have you had in the last week? 1 or 2 out of 7. Are you really seeking God with all your heart? You know, there's a reason why it's an awesome church. There's a standard. All right, everybody's committed to seek God with all their heart. And we inspire and encourage each other. Keep going. Keep on this path, the way. And we help each other. And Satan's going to try to distract everybody. But all of a sudden it's, well, I don't want to, I want what I can get from it, but I don't want to give. That cannot be. You got to do the walk. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. The people who hated Jesus didn't really walk with him. All right? They fought him. Those who refuse to change aren't going to have fun walking with Jesus. Walk with Jesus, you got to change. Because you're not going to let things slide. All right? And it affects everybody around you. And you inspire them to keep doing the walk. She's not going to let it go. It's got to be the same expectation for everybody. That's why this is an awesome church. You saw the Wednesday. Awesome. You see the people. Awesome. The joy, the zeal, the relationships. You know, you got black, white, Hispanic, Asian, young, old. Got Aaron Lee in here. Got the older people. And the purpose is the same. We're all doing it. We're working together as a team. We're going to make disciples. And you saw it in DNA. It's the same. It's a command. You know, there's a guy that we were studying the Bible with. He loved what we were teaching. Brian introduced him to me. I don't know where Brian is. He's way back there. Hi, Brian. Okay, Brian, you can come down to us. Too hard on your knees to come down? Anyway, so he introduces me to this high-powered guy who's one of the high executives at Northwestern Mutual. And we're studying the Bible, and he's eating this up. This is good. And then we got to discipleship. And we talked about making disciples. He goes, oh, I don't do that. I said, what do you mean? Yeah, I don't share my faith. That's not my gift. I'm like, if you're excited about God, you talk about it.
Yeah.
You don't tell people about your wife or what, what's... He said, no, I don't do that. You don't understand. I said, you're a high-powered guy. Yeah. Everybody's got to listen to you. Yeah. You're the boss. Yeah. No, I don't do that. And that was it. Got up, walked out right there. Wow. But that's what's out there. Yeah. That's the condition of the heart. In verse 8, it says, it will be that for those who walk in that way. And if you noticed, the word way is capitalized. Yeah. What way? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And you notice here he's saying, hey, there's a certain way that we're talking about here. In that way. And he says, wicked fools will not go about on it. That's how God views it. Wicked fools. Why would he call people fools? Because it's foolish for you to continue to suffer when you don't have to. It's like, here, hit me again. Just keep doing that. That's what he says. It just doesn't make sense. But there's a wickedness in us that stops us from loving each other. And he says, hey, that wickedness needs to stop. Because we're all going the same direction. We're all just helping each other. We're all beggars just showing each other where the food is. And we're working together. But he says, hey, the wicked fools, they're not going to be there. Verse 9, he says, hey, he talks about no lion will be there. No ferocious beast. You know, in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8, it calls Satan a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. And he says, they will not be found there. In verse 9, no lion will be there, nor will any ferocious beast get up on it. In other words, you're stopping Satan from coming out. But if you leave the highway, Satan's going to rip you apart. Yeah. You know, many years ago, Barb and I went to Alaska. And we drove from Anchorage all the way up to Denali, Mount McKinley. It was called Mount McKinley back in the day. All right? And it was a long drive. I mean, we took a bus, and in that drive, we saw 13 grizzly bears, wild ones. They're everywhere. And you know, you read the paper, mauling, they're all over. And there was a grizzly bear there with some cubs, and everybody's, oh, let's pull over. We want to take pictures. So he pulls over, and people are like getting up to go, he says, where are you going? You can't get out of here. Are you crazy? Well, they're so cute. Very cute. Until your face is ripped off. And he's taking pictures from the window. What are you doing? And that's what he's talking about here. You get off the highway, you get ripped apart. You don't play with fire, you're going to get burned. God says, listen, I'm going to protect you, but it's up to you. The question is, what way are you going?
Yeah.
What way are you going? Are you going the way of the world? Can't have both. You got to go with God. In 1 John chapter 2, verse 15, I'm going to read it to you real quick. 1 John chapter 2.
Come on, Jay.
You guys getting all this? Okay. Chapter 2, verse 15, he says, John's writing this, he says, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For everything in the world, the cravings of sinful man, the lust of his eyes, and the boasting of what he has and does comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but the man who does the will of God lives forever. He's like, hey, you don't live for the world. What is the world really going to offer you? It doesn't take you long to look out there and see, man, these people are damaged goods, messed up. What is the pull? Well, sometimes they want that momentary joy versus everlasting joy. And that's what Satan entices you with. The love of the world. Back in Isaiah 35, verse 9, once again, it says, only the redeemed will walk there. The ransom of the Lord will return. And it goes on to say, enter with singing, and everlasting joy will crown their heads. Everlasting joy. It doesn't stop. It doesn't happen when you get to heaven. It starts now. It's everlasting. It's meant to happen now. Why? Because it's a fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness. Galatians 5:22. It's part of God's Spirit. And if you're not joyful, there's a problem here. There's something seriously wrong if you don't have this. There's something, you got to figure this thing out. Once again, how do people view you? It's time to get on the highway. Once again, it says the joy will overtake you. Can't help but being happy. Sorrow and sighing will flee away. That's that momentary sighing and suffering or whatever. See, God says, listen, you're going to suffer, but it's going to be overcome by joy.
Right.
Versus in the world, you're going to suffer, and the joy will only be momentary. And it says in Hebrews, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Jesus joyful going to the cross. That's radical.
Yeah.
Can you be joyful in suffering and in pain? Jesus knew that if I suffer, you're gonna gain from it. And that's got to be our spirit. It's amazing to see the dynamics. Everlasting joy. That's what I want. You guys want that?
Yeah.
It's right there. Just jump on the highway, keep going. Now, why are we full of joy? For me in my life, I love my life. I have an amazing life. To me, it just doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah.
I'm saying this with all honesty. Why wouldn't I have an amazing wife? Isn't Barbie awesome? She makes me look good. I have amazing kids. Did you hear Candace yesterday? Tracy, Carmen. And then I have a son-in-law. And the cherry on the top. Yeah, he's teaching me a lot of things I never knew. I appreciate Shane. Then I have a grandson. And another one on the way. My life is full of victories. The Bible says you go from victory to victory, from strength to strength. I have far surpassed all my expectations of myself years ago. People who disciple me have more vision in me than I do. Hey, I believe in vision, but listen, everything now is icing on the cake because I've surpassed it. Okay, God, what more? Keep throwing it at me. I love it. You know, I've traveled all over the world. I've seen amazing things. I've met amazing people. Awesome people. You know, amazing purpose. You know, I think I want to talk about three things. Three people. Dante.
Come on.
You know, I've been doing this for a long time, right? And, you know, we were having a study. We were talking. I've shared about this. I'll keep sharing about it. But he changed right in front of me.
Yeah.
Popped up. Went from this heavy burden to joy. Immediately went around the corner, started talking to everybody, out of himself. I said, whoa! I got to have more of that in my life.
Yeah.
I think about Q. Q is very unassuming, okay? He's there, he's just a, yeah, I gotta do it. I just gotta change it. Yeah. And he'll change it. He'll say, okay, you know, we're challenging you in this area. Okay, all right. And he changes it. Not just change it, radically changed it. It's like, you know, is this going to keep happening? And I'll say, well, you got to do it. He says, well, I got to. Well, why do you have to? Because the Lord says so. Okay. I love that conviction.
Yeah.
And then there's Max. It's third time back. I know what all of you are thinking. Is Max for real this time? What's he gonna do?
Go crazy.
Go crazy! And it's like he keeps going. And you're like, this is awesome. Keep going. And you want him to have victory because you've seen what he's gone through. And so whenever I see Max, I just smile. That's what we all need. I work with awesome people. Of course, we have the Causies. They're awesome. You know, it's the first time in a long time that I've had someone older than me discipling me. Okay? And but it's cool to talk about things that people haven't experienced or known or gone through.
Yeah.
And so there's a different relationship. I love it. Then I'm working with some of these guys, Johnny, Lee, young bucks kind of walking into each other, doing goofy things. You know, then I got the Russian people. It's opened a whole other world for me. You know, a few weeks ago, we were talking to Vlad and Masha. And you know, I'm trying my Russian on them, and I know they're just laughing. And, but they're going through a lot. I mean, everything they do in Moscow is illegal. It's against the law. But they're fired up.
Yeah.
And you love to be taken higher by seeing what people are going through.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the Tbilisi church here, right? Yeah. Do you know why Ashkan's face you couldn't see it? Because he's afraid that they will find out who he is and kill his mother and brother in Iraq. Wow. It's like, wow. And so there's this whole world that we're connected to.
Yeah.
It really is amazing.
Big bang.
And then I have great friends.
Yeah.
Friends that are, know me. I think about Aaron Lee.
Yeah.
You know, we went through the ringer in the 80s and all the way through the church, and, we were just a bunch of goofy guys just trying to hold it together.
Yeah.
I think about Vlad,
Come on, Vlad.
our relationship.
Dad.
See, Vlad and Nicole, they knew what we went through in New York. They lived a few blocks from us. That was the baptism by fire in New York. But there's a specialness because we fought through things together.
Yeah.
You don't hand this, you hang on and you will get it.
Yeah.
But you got to want it. You got to stay on the highway.
Yeah.
Do you see the church as a treasure? Jesus did. He died for it.
Yeah.
It's like you're worth it. And here's your crown. He says, listen, seek first the kingdom and you'll have no worries. I'm going to take care of you through your brothers and sisters. Mother Teresa had a quote. She said, joy is prayer. Joy is strength. Joy is love. Joy is a net of love by which you can save souls. It's pretty powerful. People are attracted to joyful people, and that needs to be us. I'm going to close with a challenge. Find out what is robbing you of your joy. What is it? It's not of God. Attack it. Talk to someone. Get the help. Change it because it's not what you should be. You should be joyful. Milwaukee needs a lot of joy. Am I right? A lot of suffering out there. It's time to call our neighbors to that highway and call them to walk in the way.
Yeah.
To wear a crown of everlasting joy, and to God be the glory.